Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Autumn Renee and I am the foster to adopt mama of a wonderful 2-year-old little boy who is Black. And I've had a lot of questions on my channel about how I encourage his culture, what I'm doing to make sure he has influences in his life that look like him, and lots of questions like that. So I thought it'd be a great time to make a video kind of addressing how adoptive mamas can go about encouraging their child's culture when it is a different culture from your own. And there are so many ways to do this, and I am by no means an expert. I am kind of new to this too. I've only just recently adopted my son. I've had him for a few years, but I've only just recently adopted him, and he's very young. He's only 2.5, so I haven't even gotten to those older ages where he'll have more questions and, we'll have more in-depth conversations about race and things like that. So I'd like to just preface this entire video by saying I am definitely new to this, but I feel like I already have some helpful tips and tricks and products that I can recommend to you guys to help encourage your child's culture if you are an adoptive mama or thinking about becoming an adoptive mama. I would love to have you subscribe if you're new. I have tons of videos on motherhood, products, foster care, adoption, all things like that. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely hit that subscribe button and a notification bell, and we'll go ahead and get into this video. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is making sure your child is represented in their life. And what I mean by that is if your child looks differently from your family, if you're a white family and you have a Hispanic child or an Asian child or a Black child or whatever, or any combination there of all of that, it's important that child feels represented in the things around them. It's sometimes hard. I know for me as a white female growing up in the United States, I did not realize how whitewashed my world was growing up. It never occurred to me that most of the children in books are white or most of the toys at the store are white. Like it just, because I was represented, so I didn't really think about the other races or other ethnicities that were not represented. But when you become an adoptive mama, you kind of start seeing the world through a different lens, and you start seeing how whitewashed the world that we live in really is. So it's really important that you buy products and toys and books where your child is represented. I have a couple examples here, and I've actually made an entire video on diverse books for toddlers if you want to check that out. But I would like to go ahead and just mention a couple here. Books like these, where you have Black children very clearly represented in different ways, especially in a positive way, is so, so important. I mean, literacy and reading is already important. We all know that, but having kids actually be able to see themselves in books is also very, very important, especially as an adoptive child or a child of a minority in a world where they are not the majority. It's just important that they feel represented and they feel heard. And even starting at a young age, baby and toddlers, you can buy board books like these where they're represented. And if you have an older child, there's plenty of chapter books and things like that where diversity is represented. So just keep an eye on that. I am very adamant about not buying any board books or other children's books where there is not other races or ethnicities represented. I do not buy books where it's all white children in this household. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Toys are another thing you can think about. Having figurines or other toys where there's multiple races and multiple ethnicities that are represented. The brands like Melissa and Doug, this is a Melissa and Doug little figurine, usually are really good at representing different races and different ethnicities. So I would check out brands like that to see if you can find some toys where your child is represented. Again, I just think it's very important that they are able to see themselves in their play. Like my son has a little Black baby doll that looks like him. He's got some figurines like this. He's actually getting a Fisher-Price dollhouse that's got the little Black family in it, because to me it's much more important that he is represented in the toy than I am. So I try to buy all of the, basically any kind of Black toys or Black books that I can find for him, so that he feels represented in our household. And it's the same thing with movies and music and books. Anytime you can find things that feature Black artists, Black characters, Black actors, all of that is so important. And thankfully, I feel like the world is slowly starting to move towards that way. You can see like shows like on Disney Junior, like Doc McStuffins are starting to feature Black children and Black families. And fun fact, Doc McStuffins also features adoption. Her little brother is adopted in one episode. So if you're looking for a younger toddler show, that's a great one. And same thing if you have older kids, there's shows out there that feature lots of diversity. I know Sesame Street features lots of diversity. There's several out there. You just have to do your research and really be mindful of finding these for your kids. And like I said, I think the world is slowly starting to move that way, so there's starting to be more and more of that available. Beyond just products for your kids, there's also products you can buy for yourself. they can help with this, especially books. I have a couple here. This one's called Inside Transracial Adoption, and it talks about parenting strategies that are helpful when you're parenting a child of a different culture than yours. I think also books like this, Let's Talk About Race, where it just teaches you how to have open conversations about race, because I think that's one of the most important things you can do as an adoptive parent, is be open about race and being open to talking about it, because your child will have questions about that, and it shouldn't be something that they feel afraid to ask or talk about. It should be a very open conversation from the get-go. There's tons of research supporting telling your kids that they're adopted from the beginning and having that be an open conversation, an open part of your life. Obviously, if you have an open adoption, that's already kind of a part of your life, but just, making sure that your child knows that it is okay to talk about that kind of stuff, and that you yourself have done the research and had the resources to be able to have those conversations effectively. So those are some things and products you guys can do for yourselves. I also think reaching out to your communities. I talked about this before in one of my earlier videos this month, but making sure that where you're living is a diverse area if you can. If there's a chance, if you're moving, look in the neighborhood and see if there are other families of your child's ethnicity and culture, and look if the school has lots of kids of that culture in there. If you go to church, see if you can go to a church that features more diverse families. Like anything that you can do to have your child be more exposed. If they're Asian, maybe you can find an Asian pediatrician or an Asian doctor. If they're Black, maybe you can find a Black pediatrician and a Black dentist. There's just all of these different things that you can do to try to make sure that they have those influences and have that representation in their life. That's not to say that everything has to be their culture, but just being mindful and doing what you can to make sure that they have those experiences and have those influences in their life. Obviously, it's great if you have family friends or family that are of their same culture that they can be around. That's amazing. If you don't and you live in a large metroplex area, there's most likely a transracial adoption group in your area that you can join and meet other transracial adoptions, which can also be very helpful for your child to meet other kids who are adopted and see other families that kind of look like them and look like how your family dynamic works. All of these things can just help normalize and help give them the feelings and help just really just let them have that representation in the world. I don't know how else to say how important that is. But I hope this video, I know it was kind of short, but I just really wanted to make it and share some of those ideas with you guys. Like I said, there's so many more resources coming. There's subscription box now that you can buy based on your child's race and ethnicity. There's so many groups online you can join to get so much great advice, like Facebook groups or like groups on Meetup. Just reach out, be open, and really just keep that open dialogue with your child would be my biggest advice. If you have any other great advice that I didn't mention in here, definitely leave it in the comments below. Like I said, I'm still on the beginning journey of this myself. I'm only just now getting there, so I would love to hear if you have other advice or other mamas out there that have gone through this. I always love for all my videos to be a resource. All right, guys, thanks for joining me so much today. Definitely hit that like button if you liked this video and subscribe if you want to see more. All right, bye.